Welcome back to the halftime show here on K105. It's time for another edition of our Cougar Conversations. Today we are joined by Grayson County High School teacher Chancellor Dennison. And thanks for taking the time to join us. You're a teacher here at Grayson County. What are you teaching right now?
So I teach social studies. I teach sophomores mainly. They take American National Government and economics and geography.
Why did you want to become a teacher?
So my pathway to being a teacher is kind of convoluted. I've had many hats on in my life, but I was living in DC, working in DC, and I got to do some pretty incredible stuff. And I decided that I wanted to come back and empower students the way my teachers had empowered me. Was very lucky, especially in high school. I had incredible teachers, Linda Langley, Miss Langley, uh, Miss Bonnie Langley, Mr. Park Gentry, Miss Lana Willis. There are so many teachers, but those kind of jump out, and they truly empowered me to go on and do awesome stuff.
Do you have any favorite memories as being a student at Grayson County High School?
Oh gosh, I still remember Miss Linda Langley's English class. She was an incredible educator, and I've been very lucky actually to have all three of her grandkids in school, so that's been really cool. Miss Langley was just such a good teacher and so passionate. Um, I remember the pep rallies, the spirit we had. It's a great place to go to school and get an education.
After leaving Grayson County, you went to Georgetown.
Yes.
Probably not a very common place for Grayson County High School graduates to go. Why was that your choice?
So I was really lucky when I came through the high school. A couple of classes ahead of me, Chad Meredith. Chad went to Washington and Lee. The year ahead of me, Miles Huffman was one of my good friends, and Miles went to Vassar. I decided I wanted to go out of state, and funnily enough, I only looked at schools in Virginia, and I applied to Georgetown, UVA, William and Mary. I picked Georgetown because I wanted to be in the nation's capital, and I went to the campus, and I felt like I was at home.
You mentioned a couple of your favorite teachers that you had, and how did they mold you, though, into the student that you became at Georgetown, but also the teacher that you are today?
So when I think of, especially Miss Langley, Miss Langley truly taught me how to write. And I remember when I went to Georgetown, taking like my freshman level English class, I was kind of ahead of my peers, which surprised me coming from a kind of poor rural school in Kentucky. But I had had excellent teachers who gave me the skills I needed to be successful. I remember, I was a history major at Georgetown. I had to take a one calculus class, and Miss Bonnie Langley's calculus class was harder than the class at Georgetown. So, I can thank Miss Langley, Miss Minton, my Miss Franklin, my math teachers. I had incredible teachers who really empowered me to do great things.
After Georgetown, there was a couple of years in between you coming back to Litchfield. What were you focusing on then?
So yeah, actually it's 15 years, Sam. Is a long time.
Couple of years.
So when I graduated Georgetown, I was very kind of did the DC thing. During college, I interned for Ron Lewis, who was our congressman. I interned for Jim Bunning, Senator Bunning, and then I interned at the Department of Labor. And I graduated from Georgetown. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something for government. And somebody told me at the time, they said, hey, you should apply for a presidential appointment. And I had no idea you could do that. But I applied for a presidential appointment, and I was appointed by President George W. Bush to work at the Department of Labor for Secretary Chow. So I spent 2 years working for the last 2 years of the Bush administration working for Elaine Chow. And it was an incredible experience. Um, you know, no matter what's going on at Grayson County High School, I am prepared for anything that happens. When you pick up your phone and the president's on the phone, you're pretty, you're prepared. So that was an excellent way to. Nothing really stresses me out because I've been very stressed in the past. Does that make sense?
Did that actually happen? Did you actually get a phone call from the president?
I did, yeah. So I was working. So my job, I was the personal assistant for the deputy secretary, and that included like kind of answering his phones. If Secretary Chow, if her staff was out or traveling, I answered her phones, and he did call a couple of times. The White House Chief of Staff called. And as I said, there's nothing like picking up the phone and answering it for one of those high-level people. You have to be on. You have to be ready to go. And she is an incredible person. She's very demanding of her employees, and it was a great experience.
When did you know, when you were in D.C., that it was time to come home?
So after I worked for the government, I lost my job with the 2008 election. That happens in politics. I worked at Georgetown University. Went back to Georgetown. I worked for a couple of years. I went to grad school. When I came back from grad school, just the political climate had changed in D.C., and I decided I did not want to actively work in politics. So I started working at George Washington University, managing the Semester in Washington program. That program, we had a smaller program that's a Native American political leadership program that focused on indigenous youth, and it was incredible. I got to travel around the country, out west. I visited many Indian reservations, and through that work, I kind of realized, Indian country has many problems, poverty, alcoholism, drug abuse, and I loved helping these kids. But one day I was sitting in my office, and no joke, it kind of dawned on me the problems facing Indian country are the same as rural Kentucky. And if I wanted to be helping kids, I wanted to be helping kids from my own community. So I decided it's kind of time to come back and help the people in Grayson County, help the kids, just as my teachers had helped me.
I don't know if you've been given this title, and nor do I have the power to give you this title, but you, in a way, are a GCHS historian, I think is probably a safe way to say. I know when we did our GCHS 50 game, you put that together, which was, I'm sure, fun for you. But why do you enjoy going into the history of the high school?
I'm as I said, I'm a very proud graduate of Grayson County High School. My family we're lifelong Grayson Countyans, and my grandmother taught in a one-room school. My mom taught at Caneyville. My sister teaches at Caneyville. Grayson County schools have always been there for us. I think it's important that we honor the legacy of Grayson County schools. H.W. Wilkie just celebrated its 50th a few years ago. The high school is celebrating its 50th this year, and I'm very proud of what we have accomplished in 50 years, and I'm looking forward to the next 50.
You mentioned GCHS 50, and there's already been a couple of events that have gone on with that. What has that been like to go through?
It's been really fun. I love the kickoff at the beginning of the school year. It was a great way to begin the year. I loved seeing the community come out to support the school system, and it was awesome having Stephen Miller, who is a graduate of Grayson County High School, come back and play. I thought it was a great way to begin the school year and the celebrations.
Now, I know I asked Ms. Cox this at the beginning of the school year because it was kind of the kickoff for us in this, and I asked her, what's next for GCHS 50? And I think at the time, that was very soon after that event, so I think she wanted to smack me for even asking her what's next. So now that it's been, 2 months or however long, what's next for GCHS 50?
So I know that, we have homecoming next Friday night, October 25th. And we are hoping to recognize kind of the former homecoming queens and football players, and kind of to celebrate the people who were here before us and honoring their legacies and looking forward to the future.
I appreciate you taking the time here on today's Cougar Conversations segment. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break and come back and have more of the action from Grayson County and Seneca after this.